welcome to hello and welcome to this live stream where we are going to be talking about the news. So yeah, getting into the news, when a poll was done asking should the government introduce a windfall tax on energy companies in Ireland, uh, 89.6% said yes. So yeah, that's a lot of people want a windfall tax, and I think it is something which I would personally say I would agree with those the 89.6%. Only people want it, and there's the rest is mostly made up of people who are like I'm not sure. I don't know why you wouldn't be sure, but I guess maybe you've been listening to right wing propaganda. But yeah, this is an issue, of course, when we look at massive corporations. Corporations right now are making billions. Energy corporations, that is. Well, a lot of corporations are, but like specifically energy corporations are making billions. And at the same time, energy prices are going up. And the excuse given for these energy price increases is inflation, and stress on the source. Of course, the problem is a lot of the time the source may not even be Russia and Ukraine, kind of issue. So in some cases that's not even the source, so that's BS. And then also, when a company's making massive profits, that's one thing. And you could argue maybe you could take a cut in your profits. But see, when a company has massive profit increases, not doesn't go down, not it's up slightly. When it has a massive increase, of almost double, 70%, that type of thing. When you're looking at that, that's a lot more. That is at that point you're just going, well, maybe you shouldn't increase it, because at that point you're thinking you're actively profiting off inflation. Effectively, you're actively profiting off this because you're using it as an excuse to raise the price. You know, the whole point of of increased costs is that you don't make more money because you just put the costs onto the consumer. But at this point, as it always happens, companies are greedy and they use the excuse. And this way is very effective because what it does is, and this is what a lot of companies do. What it does is it takes the pressure off the government. Sorry, puts the pressure on the government. Takes the pressure off the companies, because you could technically say, well, don't do that. You cannot do that, energy company. It's not like you have to do that. As in, if all the energy was nationalized, if all energy was nationalized, right, it would cost less. If it would cost less on a nationalized system, and when I say less, I mean far less, then obviously, well, what are you going to think? You're going to think, well, maybe we should nationalize it or force it. So I don't know. Let's march on the plant and just seize it. Just take it and then give energy up to people at the price it costs. But of course, if you say, well, inflation, that's the reason it went up. It's because inflation. So we can't exactly, we can't be going ahead and saying, you know, to national, because that wouldn't do anything, because that's the reason it went up in price. But of course, as we're saying, that's not really the reason it went up in price, because if there's a profit increase, then how about no profit increase? And then we don't increase the bills as much? You know, you could argue, you could bring in legislation to stop businesses from, massively increasing the price of these items, when the price to make them doesn't go up by that amount. But and a man charged in Lady Gaga's dog robbery in celebrity news has been sentenced to 4 years in a U.S. jail. Yeah, the dog walker was also shot. Um, so it's. I think it's a little bit painful to be like, oh yes, the dog robbery is the reason. I mean, probably the person being shot might be the thing as well. Yeah. So in other news, in Ireland, we all get to urinate in bottles because Amazon has opened its first Irish fulfillment center in Dublin, the capital of Ireland. So basically, yeah, we all get to pee in bottles, and I'll have all the horribleness of working for Amazon, like the long distances walking, even though you could technically just employ more people, give people zones that are a little bit, smaller, all those sort of things that really point to Amazon, like executives being sadists. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying it kind of points to it, just saying it's a bit weird. It seems like you could be a little less on the person, but what can you do there? Anyway, so moving swiftly forward when it comes to the scenario in which we are talking about situations when it comes to the issues surrounding all of these problems, in which we will see the US possibly trade, you know, um, prisoners when it comes to Brittany Griner. So yeah, Brittany Griner, I talked about them before. They were arrested in, in a Moscow airport, detained in a at a Moscow airport in February, and they've been charged and been given 9 years for drug smuggling. Whether they're guilty or not, who knows? Now, if they're guilty, you could argue, kind of fair. Of course, people have pointed to the fact that Russians don't exactly have the best history when it comes to drugs and, being against them being smuggled. They've been involved in many doping scandals where actively, in the Olympics, like during these the government would assist athletes into doping to win medals in competitions. And when the government is actively assisting athletes, yeah, it doesn't look too good when they're just like, yeah, this athlete was was in possession rather of drugs. So yeah, that yeah, definitely, looks a bit suspicious, and that is the way. And there's a suggestion that they may try to do a prisoner trade that's going on there. And yeah, so, who knows? And in Ireland, stalkers are due to face up to 10 years in prison as domestic violence laws are to be tougher. I think they should be tougher, my opinion. They do need to be. The maximum sentence for assault causing harm has also actually been doubled to 10 years, which I think is good. When you have weak punishments, not only do you have the thing of like, oh, the person thinks the person actually believes they're very likely to get away with it, but also the person thinks the risk involved. It sometimes these kind of things, so you need to have it a lot tougher. So it's like, well, maybe you won't get away, maybe you will get away with it, but what if you don't? Because there'll be a lot of time in your life, and also that prison, yeah, that won't be a nice prison at all. It'll be a very brutal prison. Yeah, you're not gonna enjoy that time at all. Yeah, it's gonna be very painful for you in that prison. Well, kind of serves you right. Anyway, so yeah, so there's been a lot of things going on in the world. So a lot of things concerning things such as well, that was, of course, sorry, I should say that was yesterday's news. So, obviously now we're moving on to today's news. And in today's news, what do we have? Well, quite a few stories today, a lot of stories going on. And one of the main stories is that the has said the government will consider a windfall tax on energy companies. So yeah, that'll be good if it does happen. As I said already, very good if that does happen, and hopefully it will. But of course, I should mention when it comes to the UK, the not country, empire. I'm just going to say it. Empire that's next to Ireland. Well, they have people who are not too considering of a windfall tax. Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, no windfall tax. No, we should slash tax. Obviously, Rishi Sunak's plan is a lot less, upfront, and it's a lot less kind of stupid, It's still pretty stupid, but it's when it comes to tax, anyway, the rest of it is pretty evil actually. But when it comes to tax, let's have a little discussion here. So when it comes to Liz Truss believes that if you slash corporation tax, slash income tax, slash all these taxes, the government will be improved because they'll get investment. Now I know, Liz, this might come to shock to you, but you're England, okay? So let's say I want to set my company up. Where do you think I'm gonna go? I'm not going to go to England because of low tax. I'm going to go to England because it's England. You see, London, Paris, New York, all those things. That's the thing, Liz. See, the whole thing is that it's, England has this, it's like America. It's like European countries like France. It's one of those big countries where corporations put themselves down, not because of taxes. If people are going to come to England for tax reasons, you're going to have to make it a tax haven. And I'm afraid because England is not in the European Union, you're going to have to make it a very low tax. Because, for example, in Ireland, right, we have 12.5% tax. Now, when your tax is below 13%, right, and you're in the European Union, you're a very attractive offer, okay? Because it means you get access to the European market, but the tax you pay for the European market, the profit you make, is almost 12%. Now, she's saying, oh, let's bring it down to, like a lower level than it is now, but specifically not below 12, not below 13, not below 14. So I just want to explain this to Liz. Liz, you're going to need to drop the tax to like 10%, 0%, that kind of thing, if you want those kind of companies. Because a company is not going to come to England like that. They're going to take advantage of your tax, yes, if it's lower, but they're not going to come and invest in it. Because that's the thing. Most companies, right? Low taxes they're not a reason for investment. Low taxes encourage companies to file their money through your tax system. So let's say a corporation makes 100 billion. Okay, you're saying come along and funnel your money through us. You get 100 billion, and then you apply your tax to that, and that's the amount of money the government gets, right? That does not attract investment into the country. That attracts taxation money. Okay? That's the whole point of countries to have low tax. Not to attract investment, but so that you can attract the money that would be going to other countries. Like if we all had 50% tax, every single country in the world, if every single country, every single place had 50% tax, corporations wouldn't care. They just pay the tax in all the different places. Now, they'd still campaign and they'd still lobby governments. But like if the lobbying didn't work and every single country still had 50% tax, it didn't move, no matter how much they lobbied us, then obviously, what do you think would happen? All the money would stay in all these different countries and they wouldn't funnel to any countries because there wouldn't be any benefit. Okay? Having low tax does not necessarily bring investment. Having more trained workers, having access to the EU, Liz, things like that attracts investment because that means you can locate in this place and make more money. You're not going to come to England and invest in it just because it has low tax. That would make no sense because you know what you can do? You can invest in England, take all the profits you made in England, ship them to a tax haven and go, oh, look, sorry, England, we didn't make any money this year. But our office over there in that country that has a very low tax, lower than yours, that made a ton of money. Made actually probably basically most of the money for our entire corporation. Imagine that. How weird is that? And that's the point. Low tax will not help England because your tax needs to be super low. You need to make your country a tax haven. So what Liz is giving there is giving companies that are already there, that are already paying that tax, free money. I know this might go, I just have to break down this tax thing because it really annoys me to watch Liz Truss be like, oh, this will attract investment. No, it won't, because that is not the kind of tax cuts you need to make to attract companies. You need to turn your country into a tax haven to compete with countries that are tax havens in order to attract that kind of investment, in order to have a base there. Because otherwise, they just won't pay tax to you anyway. That's what they do. Why do you think companies? Why do you think the people in America get really annoyed when American companies, for some reason, have their money in offshore places? Oh, I don't know. I wonder what that is. They make the most of their money in the US, but the point is they funnel their money, and that's a tax. That's a tax. Not tax evasion, but a tax avoidance for a company. So yeah, just make it clear to Liz if you're listening. Yeah, that won't work. So yeah, it just it annoys me a lot to look at Liz Truss doing this sort of stuff, this kind of BS. Of course, you do have the likes of the two people also coming out with more right wing things. As Sunak actually does actually say that Truss will make the UK economy worse, and that is true. But he's also become very, very right wing, announcing things like he wants to look at the Equality Act of 2010. Now, I know this might come as a bit of a shock, but I think it's concerning when you want to look at an act called the Equality Act, because unless that act is, hiding the fact that it's really not for equality, just a spoiler alert, it actually is for equality. There's no little things there. Yeah, it's concerning. It kind of implies that you want to go almost Nazi mode and strip the rights of individuals. Suddenly go, oh no, because you're this, you can't have that. No, oh no, you can't marry each other because you're this group. Oh yeah, that was against the law. Funny thing, I changed it. I know, right? We're moving backwards. We're moving more Nazi-like. Before we were just Nazis, but now we've moved from that, and now we're going back. It's so much fun, isn't it? To just see the world collapsing in itself. Anyway, just saying, Rishi Sunak, yeah, looks like the better candidate now. Who knows? Who knows? And Alex Jones has been ordered to pay the Sandy Hook parents more than $4 million over hoax claims. Yeah, not a nice man. Yeah, not a nice man at all. A man who apparently also had child pornography images on his. He was sharing them. Yeah, not a nice man at all. Not a nice man at all. Yeah, spreading lies and getting his supporters to harass them and cause damages. Yeah, not a good man there. Yeah, he deserves that, in my opinion. So yeah, I think he deserves a lot more. And also, apparently, he's made a good more than 4 million. Apparently, he made over 800,000 a day. So that's a tiny amount to hit him with, to be honest. His lawyers also sent a bunch of documents regarding his phone records to the prosecution. So yeah, doesn't have the best solicitors or lawyers, as they call it in America. Really. But who knows if he'll get off though? Who knows if he'll get off from paying more. The problem is he's also had the January 6th when they've also wanted to investigate him a little bit. So yeah, he's broken a good few criminal laws as well. For legal reasons, I'm not saying he did break those laws. I'm just saying he probably did. Please don't sue me. But yeah, I'm not saying he did break those laws. Just allegedly, it looks like he probably did. Anyway. So yeah, when it looks to over 300,000 new current accounts have been opened, as more and more situations are happening here. These are coming from two banks in Ireland closing, and also people realizing they may want to spend their money now as their money continues to depreciate in value. And as their, energy prices hike, and as all these things hike, yeah, your day-to-day a lot of people whose day-to-day income may have been enough, now they're going to have to go into savings. So some people, they may not necessarily be, cutting off their heating and lighting and, having to not eat just yet, but they are having to cut into savings. And that is a sign when you see that you too need to try and solve that issue swiftly. For example, removing certain things like, I don't know, certain companies that refuse to increase wages, maybe just force them to do it. Like I don't know, like a minimum wage increase, maybe. I don't know, or yeah, or government assistance might want to increase. And Kevin Spacey has appealed to overturn a 31 million arbitration award to House of Cards producer. And this was denied. This appeal was denied. So yeah, not a nice man. Not a nice man at all. Why are the most popular people the worst? Just disgusting. My God. Anyway, Lidl is also due to remove a mandatory retirement age of 65 for its employees, as you know. I think it's realizing, yeah, it said that this will allow to attract more mature and life experience talent, but also I think that might be people who are, expected to be able to retire, and then they're like, oh, this is my pension. Oh, this is how much I saved. Oh, this is not enough to deal with. So, yeah. So it's most people tend to have retired at 65. So removing this doesn't necessarily attract more mature and life experience talents that are currently working. It tends to attract more life experience talent where they had retired but have to come out now. So yeah, not looking good when Lidl is saying, yeah, we know that everyone is having financial problems. So now, even though you're supposed to be given a pension, you're supposed to be able to retire, yeah, don't you worry. There's a job for you at Lidl. Anyway, so China has placed sanctions on U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi over Taiwan visit. Yeah, the one who has said that, oh, we can't be stopping, people in government trading in stocks and shares. I mean, that would stop their lucky draws, wouldn't it? All those lucky politicians that mysteriously always tend to know whenever the government is about to give assistance to corporations. Imagine that. Imagine politicians knowing when corporations might be getting a bit of a boost to their stock. Insane. So lucky, aren't they? But yeah, so yeah, I personally, sometimes, the enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend, but yeah, they're yeah, it's yeah, it's anyway. So this move came after the Chinese military drills actually fired missiles into Japan's exclusive economic zone. So yeah. Anyway, a Bansky painting created in the West End Bank has surfaced in a Tel Aviv gallery. So the artwork sprayed on a concrete wall shows a rat with a slingshot. How nice. And what comes the news of Rishi Sunak? Rishi Sunak has bragged of his work diverting public funds from deprived urban areas. Oh my God. What a man. Bragging of diverting public funds from deprived urban areas. Am I reading that wrong? Is this maybe this is written down wrong. But as far as I can tell, he's bragging about his work diverting public funds from